What we are trying to do is to inform the public about both the benefits and the costs. And the benefits are the long term, come up in the long term. And it's, I think, very important for us to spread that message that that consolidation is necessary. I mean, it's like when you have large fiscal deficits, it's like a family that is constantly spending more than it earns. It cannot go on forever, right? And it does have costs. And this chapter gives some information on the costs such behavior has. And I think that's a role we have to play. But we should also be clear about that there is short-term pain. Otherwise, people, that is why they are concerned at this stage. But if we have a good assessment of the long-term gains, then we hope that this will help carry forward the debate in Europe.
Fiscal contractions, fiscal consolidation typically reduces growth and raises the unemployment rate in the short term. A 1% of GDP budget deficit cut reduces GDP by 0.5% and raises the unemployment rate by 1/3 of a percentage point within 2 years. Tax cuts versus spending cuts. It turns out that governments that cut spending experience smaller contractions than those that raise taxes. And we found an interesting reason for that. Central banks typically cut interest rates more following following spending cuts. So that's the factors that shape the outcome. It's important to have realistic expectations. Almost all advanced economies need to do fiscal consolidation, and it's going to have long-run benefits. But we shouldn't kid ourselves. In the short term, tax hikes and spending cuts are going to probably reduce growth and raise the unemployment rate.
We'll then open the floor for questions. Thank you.
Thanks, Jorg. To help us understand where trade might be headed from here, what our Rio chapter does is look at what happened to trade following banking and debt crisis over the past 40 years. And what we found was that the imports of a crisis country tend to fall substantially in the first 2 years of a crisis, very much like we saw in this recent global downturn. We also found that imports do not recover quickly after those first years. In fact, what tends to happen is that imports tend to stay depressed over the medium term.